we're going to do some scales. Like you could type in out in Google scales alpha. If it's a black and white image, it's going to work. Like, you know, we could do these. Let's try this. Save image, call it alpha. Hop back over here. Not texture, we want to do alpha, import, and then we'll change this to drag rectangle. We can come in here and drag. Oh, I'm on H polish. Let's set this to standard. Let's pick that alpha that I imported, do drag rectangle. Then I can drag these scales out. It's based on how much geometry you have. So keep that in mind. I don't love alphas very much. Nothing wrong with them. I just don't love them. Actually, let's change this to play build up. Let's use alpha 6. You know what? Since we're adding detail, let's just divide again. Divide. I'm at 4 million polys. Let's come in and add just like this little scale. Move topological. Let's grab that baby. Okay, great. There's one. Let's do one below it, you know, down here, build that up. And then this one's going to be laying on kind of on top of it. Something like that. Now we're going to go back to our undo history. Back until we don't have that detail anymore. Which will be right there. Control click, go forward in time. We're going to press our brush, press X. We're going to use extractor. Then we need to press G on the keyboard. That will turn it blue. And that's going to allow you to kind of trace that detail and let go. It's calculating, and then it gives you this alpha. And then if I were to, I guess, go the other way. Yeah, so there are my scales. It's trying to copy that information, and it obviously doesn't do overhangs well at all because this is an alpha and it's not like a VDM brush. But, you know, you can get some interesting scales right there. And it's a little more natural than possibly some of your alpha brushes. We can change the size of this. Want some larger scales up here. I think I'm just going to continue these scales. Let's get a large one right here. Oh. Yeah, scales on scales. Makes sense, right? Okay, so pick your poison with scales and whatnot. I think I might use an alpha brush for something like this, or I could just, let's try the extractor brush again. So these are just very, very tiny kind of scales. So I'm going to come in here and essentially do the same kind of little detail. I'm going to do a little bit more. So there's just a little bit more variation. You know, something like that. That could look kind of cool, maybe. So once again, we're going to go back in our undo history until those strokes are not there. Control click that one. Go forward all the way, or as far as you need to. Extractor brush. Press G on the keyboard. We're going to capture that. Extracting. Boom, we have an alpha. And then we can come in and paint that in there. That one didn't turn out super good. Let me try a different extractor brush. So we're going to press X, extract rectangle. Press G. Let's grab something like that. See if that feels... Yeah, so that feels a lot better to me. But I want this to be very, very subtle. Oops. Actually, I'm just going to smooth this out just a smidge. I don't like how intense that was. Really, let's just do that. Let's go down a subdivision level to get rid of it. Back up. Back up. There we go. So now it's gone. Back to that extractor brush. Got my alpha in there. And then I can just change the Z intensity if I want. So now we got this very subtle kind of skin texture that I'm applying. That might be a little too subtle. Based on the reference, this is pretty intense, but I kind of like that subtleness. Gives me a little more freedom, and I'm just dragging these out. It's kind of all over the place, but I really like the way that turned out. You'll notice I have one there, and if I want to do it again, it's going to be more intense and more intense. So now I have this really intense part. If I want, I'm not being super precise at all. But it's giving me some variation, even from a distance. That looks pretty darn good. Let's get a little more intense up here. I'm going to use something called Transpose Master. So this is under Z plugin, down to Transpose Master, T-pose my mesh. It's going to look at all my subtools. Let's make sure symmetry is on. And what this allows me to do is I can actually use the move brush now. Instead of like collapsing all these subtools and then, you know, splitting them, I just want them kind of all merged together for a second. And that's what this does. So if I need to move like individual subtools, the move topological will still work. It's not moving the teeth or the eyebrows, but the move brush, even though I had separate subtools, it can move both. Now be careful because this is deforming the eye and things like that, or the teeth. But to me, this mouth seemed very boring. So I'm going to like pull this down. To me, that has a little more character. That looks pretty boring. This might have a little more character. So I'm just kind of accentuating some of these curves. Making very broad changes. Let's do something up here. I don't love the way the front of this guy looks. I feel like he needs a more menacing. Maybe not. Let's try larger. Let's just go extreme. And if you really want to push things, I really enjoy move elastic. That's where you can get some really fun kind of caricature shapes. Like, look at the shape of that nose. Now, do I love that? No, not necessarily, not in this case, but maybe I can use this to... Ooh, up was kind of cool. Huh. Let's see, we have that. That one's better. But I do like the idea of this swooping down just a little more. There, that looks almost like a pit viper. Let's pull this out just a smidge. Okay, so we did some very minor tweaks, but to me, it seems like it did a lot. So this was where we're at before, and with just a few movements, we made it to here. And to me, this was very boring. And this is better, in my opinion. That might be a little too much. When we're all done with that, you have to go to Z plugin, T-pose, and then it's going to look at all your subtools and put them back where they need to go based on the information. Now, in that mode, you don't really want to sculpt details or things like that. It's just like moving, masking, things like that. That's pretty cool. We've definitely strayed far from the concept, but it don't matter. That's okay. Let's just do one more thing, and then we'll wrap this bad boy up. So we're going to use damn standard. We're just going to carve in... just like breaking up that form. Let's get a smaller brush. Actually, maybe that'll be cool. Let's press H for H polish. We're going to hit that side and this side, give it a little bit of variation. Okay, let's use our extractor brush again. We'll use drag rectangle. We're going to go back to where it wasn't there. Control click, go forward, press G. Let's grab that bad boy. Yo. Why is my intensity so high? There we go. So I've got this little, you know, slice that I can come add this thing around. Let's add some small ones here. Let's do some very light ones. And you know what? Let's change this to spray. See what happens. Whoa, baby. So I'm just lightly pressing, and you know, this is scattering that all around, which kind of looks cool. Maybe it's not your cup of tea. That's all right. Too much. Cut that in half. Oh, I've already got horizontal stuff there. Let's do this. Yeah, that kind of spices things up a little bit. A little less boring in some of these little pockets. Hopefully you learned something out of this. It's okay if it strays. Mine strayed very, very far from the concept, and that's okay. You're learning how to do many different things. And let's go back and actually look at where we started. Okay, there's Dragon where we started, and this is where we ended. So that's pretty cool to see. You know, this was just a block out, and then we made it to here, and it's okay. It's gonna suck when you start. Even the best artists in the world, which I am not, it's gonna look really, really bad when you're blocking things out, playing with ideas, and then keep pushing, and then hopefully you can make something a little bit better. And it's okay. I strayed so far from the reference, but it doesn't matter. You're learning. I was just having a good time, and hopefully you learned something out of this.